Hello, everybody. Welcome to Friday. It is the 18th, and we're doing robot and nonsense stories for the end of the week.
Let's hope that we've completed a week without a major weather disaster in the southeast United States.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be great?
No, there's another one. Well, there's actually a hurricane. Well, we're recording this in the past, but there was Hurricane Leslie, but it was a fish storm. I don't think it was at the time of this filming. It was not intended to track anywhere near the U.S.
But what about after they hit it with the lasers? Well, let's talk about some robots that aren't controlling the weather. And when it comes to AI, the thing about it is no one really knows how it works other than the people who built it. And even they have maybe a vague idea. And they're not ever willing to tell us any of the details. But a lot of people, like OpenAI, have made promises about open source, open AI for the people. But how do you define it? How much has to be open? Because most people aren't willing to let you look at the training data. And even if they did, is it copyright? Did they get special permission? They're not allowed to reproduce it again. How does it work?
Open source AI definition finally gets its first release candidate and a compromise.
So basically they're saying you have to make it as open as you're allowed to. Now, if you have training data that you're not allowed to show to other people, which is a thing that can happen, you can say that it's open even if you don't do that. The purists are saying that's not acceptable, whereas the other people are saying this is not enough. It needs to be even more lenient than this. So it's hotly contested, but we now have the idea that if you give us the weights, if you give us the code, and you tell us about the training data without giving it to us, you may still be able to call yourself OpenAI. I mean, you can't call yourself
not
that.
Not OpenAI, but open source AI, yeah. I mean, you could call yourself OpenAI, but I think their lawyers would jump on you pretty quick.
You would definitely get sued. And maybe they will get sued soon because they made some promises, as usual, that they were not able to fulfill for the people.
OpenAI's GPT store has left some developers in the lurch.
So if you recall, you can go in and you can craft up your own little GPT, and they've got like an app store for that. It doesn't really require a lot of technical knowledge. So a lot of people did it. And when he announced it, he said, oh yeah, we're going to revenue share with these people. It's going to be great. And now we're finding out that it's only if you get invited by them, which is a very, very tiny number, only if you are in the United States. But some of these GPTs have been featured on their store and yet ineligible for any sort of compensation.
Weird how that works.
And they were not told that. So some of them were like, oh, this will be great. I'll get a bunch of subscribers to my GPT. That'll be an income stream. It's not.
It's not. It will be an income stream, but to Sam Altman, who, is really struggling with his billions of dollars.
He needs it. And facial recognition is still out there, even though we're hyped about language models now. But no, facial recognition is still out there, still getting better, still being deployed in a lot of places because crime is still a big issue, especially in the United States. And there's a problem with it, though, is that it's being used, but no one's talking about it, even in documents where legally it should be required.
Police seldom disclose use of facial recognition despite false arrests. They talked about a case of a man who I think was from Georgia and had never even been to Louisiana who got arrested for a shoplifting crime.
And it was pretty quickly proven that it wasn't him.
Because he had a mole on his face and it was just nobody looked at it.
Somehow facial recognition didn't catch that one.
Yeah.
So this is something we learned about during the Patriot Act days, parallel construction. You're being spied on by your TV and your phone and everything else, and everything's wiretapped. Obviously, the ISPs are letting law enforcement in. And when they catch you doing things via those methods, they don't want to tell you that's how they did it. So they make something else up. Or they say there was an informant. And that's what's happening here. Arrests are happening based on facial recognition matches, but they don't tell the defendant or their lawyer that's how that happened because they have to protect it. In fact, they pointed out that one organization that was helping some other people with facial recognition matches, when they sent them the information, they were like, don't put this in the case. don't talk about this.
No one can know that we have this tool and that we're using it at the scale we're using it at.
Although technically you should be able, in the discovery, you should have all the evidence against you. Mm-hmm. But
you have the right to face an accuser, but not if it's AI.
Doesn't seem right. And over in China, they are maybe losing the AI war, but maybe not. They are crippled by their inability to get advanced chips, but somehow.
China trains 100 billion parameter AI model on homegrown infrastructure. They found a Huawei to do it.
So 100 billion is not even that impressive anymore. I think we got 900 billion floating around. But to do it with their crippled chip infrastructure, quite impressive. So they seem to have just thrown more resources at it, even though they're not as fast or powerful. Interesting. I'm sure that you were sitting there with a bucket of popcorn, right, to watch the big Tesla event.
No.
Yeah, I missed it as well.
No. Tesla's Cybercab robotaxi is finally here with a $30,000 price tag, plus a surprise Robovan. Maybe that's what the cops need. They need the Robovan to take their prisoners around to soccer practice.
That'd be nice because then you just put the prisoners in there and just send them off.
Yeah.
So here we go. It's like a 2-seater. Here's a better picture of it.
Is there a reason we don't do a strip of headlights the way they've done that?
Probably way, way more expensive to replace.
Okay. Well, I've been driving with one headlight. Well, I haven't been driving, but the car has one headlight because it's so expensive. They have to take the whole damn bumper off.
There's the van.
Oh.
Yeah, these cars are so terrible. I mean, terrible looking. I don't know. They also had the robots out, the Optimus robots, so you could actually mingle with them and talk to them during the event. I think they said
the whole time they just asked for weed. It was very uncomfortable.
Y'all get high. 2027, we expect to see the driverless Teslas. Now, they will be competing with the Cruises and the Waymos, which use LiDAR, and famously, Tesla does not. So that'll be interesting to see how they do versus the other
Will
one.
they all honk at each other was it the Waymo ones?
They're probably not allowed to interact.
They cannot raise their voice.
I have lost my place.
Oh.
This happens to me so often. Oh my goodness. Wow, I was way off. Here we go. Sports ball. There's a lot of argument because the robots are really good at image capturing and analyzing and stuff like that. They can see things that we can't. But does it take the spirit out of the game?
You cannot be serious. Wimbledon abolishes the line judges after 147 years.
I'm guessing you cannot be serious is a famous tennis player screamed it at a judge,
maybe
right?
that's a serious, maybe that's a reference to something we don't get.
Back in the 80s, the tennis players were very popular when they argued with the calls. People loved that. You had, Connors and McEnroe? They love to fight.
I've seen Serena Williams do that too, where she'll kind of get mad if they call something against her.
But they would bite their rackets and throw them.
Oh, wow.
It was a great. I think it actually made rules against it in the.
Because they're we don't want the ratings.
But it was so much fun to watch.
That's why I like hockey. Hockey's super aggressive like that.
They should bring more aggression into tennis. But instead, they're going to bring robots, and they've already been using this technology in addition to the linemen. But now the linemen will just be gone altogether.
They point out in this article, I guess whoever the judge, the overseer, the human who is looking at the match, who has final say, they say a lot of times those people are plucked from linemen. So what happens if there's no linemen to train up to get to that point?
You might have to do your time in lower tournaments where they don't have the money.
Where they don't have the AI, yeah. I kind of have that worry about a lot of things where it's we'll just use AI to replace all the really easy work. And it's how do people learn to get to the high level?
You might not need the judge if the robot's making the call, right?
I guess eventually, yeah. But they said for now they're keeping the judge.
He gets to sit on that, or he or she gets to sit on that little elevated
Yeah,
seat.
yeah, I think that's who that is. There's a different word for it. They use an article. I'm saying judge. I don't know what it actually is.
I hope they put an actual robot in that seat eventually.
Yeah, yeah.
To simulate that. And we have some news about some robots that you probably don't want in your home.
Insecure Deebot robot vacuums collect photos and audio to train AI. Kill it.
Yeah, and they had a bit of a leak.
Oh. Oh no.
This fella's getting ready to poop.
Maybe you don't know. I guess he could be currently pooping.
Oh, it looks like the pants are coming down though,
That's
right?
true. Yeah, I guess you'd have him around your ankles.
Could be at the end.
Yeah, he could be lifting.
I guess. I don't know if I'd ever become like. Also, is there carpet in the bathroom here? What's going on?
Some people do that. A lot of trailers have that. They have carpet in the bathroom.
So yeah, this thing is compromised, and are not compromised, but they're telling you in the terms of service, yeah, we're going to map your house. This thing takes video, and it listens to your voice. Why would a vacuum need to listen?
No, yeah, like a.
And here's a little terrifying piece of reality because, again, 3-4 years ago, we were told,
No weapons.
don't worry about this. This is not a thing. We were looking at like the little spots with machine guns.
Or like a flamethrower, and they're like,
Yeah.
we'll never use this for anything.
That was small arms. They promised it wouldn't happen. It happened almost immediately. And now,
South Korea unveils world's first autonomous amphibious robotic missile launcher.
so this thing goes on a landing craft. It has automatic compensation like those pool tables on cruise ships. You ever see those? So it rolls with the boat, and it doesn't affect the
terrain,
shot.
yeah, or the yeah.
If you're not shooting from the deck of the boat, you just dump this thing in the water, and it's autonomous, and it goes and it finds a nice high position to launch its missiles from.
It's the world's worst duck boat. Actually, I guess it's a pretty good duck boat, but then it kills you after.
So that's terrifying that we have that, but we do. That's not out and it's not ready for production yet. They expect 2033 that will be on the battlefield. Oh, I put the two vacuum stories. I didn't get them together, but we have vacuums that were compromised.
Hackers take control of robot vacuums in multiple cities and yell racial slurs. What a terrible time to be alive.
Yeah, so this fella...
It could have been worse. Could it?
Well, yeah, because he points out he was much happier hearing the racial slurs than just to have pictures like the one we just saw. Constant, because they could have just stayed there, yeah, and just kept pulling stuff off of his phone or his vacuum as it vacuumed. So he reset his account, changed his password, and he was like, "That's weird," and then it did it again. So the breach was not just his account, and other people reported the same thing. I guess we're just going to have to do our own vacuuming.
I do hate vacuuming, but it's necessary.
And here's one that you read the article and it still doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I was a little lost here. Teachers and parents defend Boulder teacher accused of drawing male genitalia on papers and yearbooks.
So here's what I understood about it. This teacher, I don't think is very important. I don't think her job matters that much. She teaches wellness in action, yoga, and bowling.
This is essentially like a physical ed teacher.
So
PE.
So it makes sense why the students love this teacher, right?
Yeah.
That's the fun time. She's probably young.
Well, no, it said 20-year career, so probably not young.
Oh, okay, maybe not. And so they failed to give her some kind of stamp that you have to get. The students have to get something stamped.
It's the very end of school, I guess, like the end of the year or something, end of the semester.
I don't remember ever doing anything like that. But they did not give her a stamp, and she was like, "Hey guys, I don't have a stamp. I can't sign your paper or whatever." And they were like, "Oh, just draw that." And she was like, "That's a great idea."
That's what I don't understand. So like, if I was the teacher in that scenario, I would laugh, but then I'd be like, "No, I'm not going to draw that on a student's paperwork."
Maybe
like,
initials.
Yeah, initials or like maybe a smiley face. You know, I had teachers who would do like a smiley face or.
You could even
A nice note.
You could do poop emoji.
Yeah, poop emoji would have been fine. Penis, maybe not. There seemed to be some sort of implication in this article, and I didn't fully understand it, was that, like, someone had spray painted stuff all over the school, and so maybe that's why it was related. Like, they were like, oh, someone spray painted these all over the school. You should put one on our thing, too.
I don't follow that at all.
I didn't follow it real well. It didn't make a lot of sense.
Everybody else is doing it. Maybe you should, too.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are getting behind her. And again, I think it's maybe just because she's the fun teacher. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The bowling teacher is someone you're not going to have probably not a lot of bad grades getting handed out in bowling.
I don't know. You're not putting enough spin on the ball, Timmy.
And it's getting to a point now, it seems, where we're having trouble staffing certain infrastructure roles in our society. The standards are being dramatically reduced.
Officer found passed out in his patrol car with meth pipe in hand, department says. Paid vacation.
I thought if you did meth, you didn't sleep.
Yeah, maybe he was mixing it with something else. Or he was really, really tired.
Yeah.
It's impressive that, yeah, you do a bunch of meth and then pass out.
And this one I thought was going to be a hacking type of thing, but it seems to just be
A mistake.
a poor choice.
Passengers horrified after airline plays explicit movie on every screen. Super uncomfortable.
They point out
What was the movie? I didn't recognize it.
this was going to Japan too, and the
Yeah.
Japanese are not about that stuff. It was a movie, Daddy-O is the name of the movie.
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
And in this movie, they described how not only was it very sexually oriented, but they were sexting.
Oh, and you
On
could
the
like
screen.
read everything. Yeah.
So even the kids who didn't have any headphones on knew exactly what was being said if they could read. People weren't happy about that. There was something wrong with the flight system that they couldn't change the movie. So they said, we're just going to play this one.
You think you just turn off like
You couldn't turn it off.
that's
It's like the gas station screens.
well, no, I mean I'm saying like if you were the flight attendant, it's like, oh, we're just not going to
Yeah.
show a movie.
I don't know. People might get really unruly about that.
I don't fly a lot, but when I have flown in the past, I never watch the movie. I usually just, sleep or read or
You gotta
doodle. Yeah.
You gotta do the raw dog thing, right? Just stare blankly.
Yeah, stare. I like to look out the window on a flight if I have a window seat.
Well, this is your area of expertise because we're talking about art, and there is no definition of what can and cannot be art, but sometimes it can be hard to identify.
Beer can artwork accidentally thrown in bin by staff member at a Dutch museum. If I was the artist for this, I'd be thrilled.
For the PR, you mean?
Oh yeah, for the PR, but also just like if you make an object like that that's meant to be displayed on the floor and like kind of making fun of the whole idea of a gallery and someone actually mistakes it for like just an everyday piece of thing, like, yeah, that's great.
Well, so they're showing it to us on the floor here, yeah, but that's not where it was.
It was in the lift is how they put it, which is the elevator.
They put it in the elevator.
Yeah.
And they said it's like, oh, we like our visitors to be ambushed by the art sometimes. Like that, we want them to not be expecting it and see it and appreciate it. But this guy was just doing some maintenance, and he was like,
He was like a janitor, yeah.
who's been bringing beer into the museum?
Yeah.
But they do point out that these are little painted cans.
Yeah, they were painted with acrylic, so
And apparently very well done. So they're back.
they had to put them on a plinth, which I was like, I get what the museum director was going for, where she's like, oh, I want people to be able to experience the art, not always just in the context of just staring at it on a wall or like on a plinth, but like you are a gallery, so like
Yeah.
it's not like street art. People come expecting that experience.
I get, but well, and he was a maintenance worker, so presumably a lot of museum customers saw it and knew what it was, right?
I assume, yeah.
presume?
Or maybe they were like, oh, I don't want to touch that dirty beer can.
Yeah.
Somebody might have left that. They might be coming back.
And they have speed traps in Germany, it seems, and people don't like them. And some people have decided to clever ways to troll them.
Cookie Monster caught speeding by German police as traffic camera snaps pic of Sesame Street staple.
They have some very incendiary commentary in here about like, oh, this is so dangerous.
It's really embarrassing for PBS, to be frank.
Well, let's say I'm wearing the mask, you don't have full visibility, which is true, and it's a dangerous speed. Dude was doing 60 miles an hour in a 50 zone.
Well, that's not that bad.
I did that on the way here.
Yeah. I mean, again, embarrassing for PBS. And they should have a talk with the cookie. He shouldn't, no one's talking about Cookie Monster should not be driving under the influence of cookies. Actually, do you think he's worse not under the influence of cookies? Because he kind of gets crazy when he eats them.
That's like most people. He's probably got like that golden zone, like 5 or 6 cookies, and he's good.
And he's
but
good.
10, and he's ready to fight. 0, and he's got shakes.
Yeah.
He's gonna keep that baseline going. And speaking of things that you shouldn't do in cars,
there was an argument and she made a stupid decision. Addiction charity boss caught under the influence while driving 3 times in 2 years.
I just can't fathom it. After time number 2, shouldn't it be you never drive again?
I would think after time number 1, you wouldn't be the boss of the charity anymore.
I'm not even getting into that.
I mean, you would think like maybe you keep them on staff, but it's like you are clearly not suited to be the spokesperson for this anymore.
And part of her job and her training apparently is to counsel people who are calling up and like, oh, I need to drink.
Yeah.
But she had an argument, and she was like, you know what? I need to get 3 times the legal limit drunk. Charities are a scam. Don't fall for it. Just help actual people. I know you can't write that off on your taxes, but it's a scam. Now, Krista, one thing that I always remember about you is that you have a fear
The ankle slasher.
of having your ankle slashed under your
That was
car.
like an urban legend growing up. Was like, oh, watch out for the ankle slashers when you go to your car.
The legend, I mean, he's not slashing, but he's down there.
Voyeur caught hiding under vehicles at a car wash to stare at women's feet. Police report.
He doesn't seem like he was very good at it because the woman described him pulling up and her kind of watching him get under the car.
Well, also, what happens when they move the car? What if they hit you?
So he waits till they start vacuuming, and then when the vacuum turns off, he escapes.
Obviously, not well, because we're reading about it on the national news.
And most car washes have surveillance, right? I think they probably.
I mean, how do you just not notice? I mean, like, if you're I assume it's a crowded area. Maybe it's not a crowded area, but like, if you're in public and you see someone go under a car.
I think he said he admitted he being sexually attracted to women's feet and he could not control his impulses. So, and his version of it is like, I knew that I was going to get caught, but I just cannot. And all of these gals at the car wash were wearing like sandals. Or
Yeah,
something,
it's
like strappy
summertime.
shoes.
Yeah.
So he only victimized if he could see the feet. He should just get a job at like
A pedicure place?
Yeah, just get good at that, and then I guess that would be awkward though if all day long you're just turned on.
To say nothing of the poor customers who were like,
Well, customers are also having a bad time at a lot of self-checkouts because guess what? Artificial intelligence knows exactly what you're doing there. They are onto your games. Stop trying this.
Walmart shopper humiliated as she films herself shoplifting at self-checkout and gets caught by AI.
She was TikToking at the time, and she was very frank about what she was up to.
Which is crazy. Like, they're talking about it. Oh, like, what a win for the AI. But, like, she recorded herself doing the crime and explaining what she was doing. This is not a contender for excellent police work.
And it's funny because she described the Walmart associate coming up and being like, oh, ha, 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 you're filming it, blah, blah, blah. But she still called the cops. So
She might have been trying to delay her leaving the store, maybe, if that was a loss prevention associate.
you are going to get trespassed. When this happens, you cannot go to any Walmarts for a certain period of time.
Do you think that they enforce that?
Yeah, because the AI is looking at your face.
If I wore a mask, do you think? Actually, I want to test the limits of this. Let's go shoplift at a Walmart and then try to go to the one in the next town.
Sadly, you probably would just get a slap on the wrist for that.
I don't really believe that they would enforce it. I wouldn't test it, but like.
I've definitely seen Target shoplifting videos where the person comes in and the cops show up and they're like, what? I didn't even do anything yet,
Yes.
And they're like, no, you got banned from this Target from like a state over. And they're like, how do you know that? Well, the AI is looking at your face when you walk in. Are you a big Halloween decorator?
No, I do put out some like mums. It's like fall stuff. I do like.
It's not Halloween.
Well, you know, but I do like pumpkins and things. My family does pumpkin palooza every year.
Oh, is that trademarks?
No, it should be. That's what we all get together and carve pumpkins and paint pumpkins.
I kind of assumed that.
Yeah. In case you weren't sure what that was.
Although, you know what? It could have been pumpkin flavored baking. You should add that this year. But anyway, if you have an empty mall store or a dead Kmart somewhere in your town,
it gets taken by
it's going to
Spirit
turn
Halloween.
it's going to turn into a Spirit Halloween. But now there's even more Spirit this year.
Spirit Halloween is opening Spirit Christmas stores this holiday season. If you go into a Hobby Lobby right now, they've already got Christmas stuff up. They've actually had Christmas stuff up since like August.
What's the overhead for moving in and out? That's got to be expensive, right?
I would think. It's weird that they don't just live there forever.
But nobody's shopping for Halloween stuff in March.
But if they're going to branch into Christmas stuff, you'd think they would just keep the same location. But
People don't get hyped for any other, like all your hype holidays are backloaded.
they are, yeah. I do have a neighbor who decorates like every holiday, like for St. Patrick's Day, they do green lights and stuff.
You should start calling them out when they don't. Like, it's like, bro, it's Arbor Day.
Why? Yeah, where's the decor?
What are we doing here?
It's Columbus Day, or it was. I guess it's not Columbus Day anymore, right? Isn't it like
Indigenous
Peoples Day?
And over in Japan, they have been having some really warm weather. And this turned out to be an accidental Halloween store.
Baby on Japan store sign turns into horror poster child as ink melts in intense summer heat in recent years.
So this happened very slowly over time. There's the baby.
That's a normal looking baby.
And then year one, starting to melt. It was the black ink, and then here we are.
Oh, man. Kill me.
He said he was going to leave it up because they don't have Halloween, but they have some kind of summer scary holiday. I don't know exactly what that's about. And here's a real life horror scene for this lady.
More than 100 raccoons besiege house of woman who had been feeding them. This is why you don't feed wildlife.
She described it as like everything was cool, where everything was going good, and then one day they just all showed up. I don't believe that at all, right?
I imagine that, like, sign she probably took as like, oh, that's just them being cute or they're play fighting. It was probably like, no, we're getting aggressive. We want more food.
But I'm saying you don't go from like 10 raccoons to 100.
Oh, yeah.
There were some 75 days in there.
Yeah.
And she was just like, oh, I've maybe taken this too far. And then they hit a tipping point. She called the cops. If you're a cop, what are you doing in this situation?
You do nothing. You call animal control.
What are they going to do? They don't have the storage for these guys.
They have to go to a storage unit, raccoon storage unit. My husband sent me a video of like an old man feeding raccoons on his porch.
I've seen those in my YouTube feed.
Yeah.
Where they're all over him.
Yeah, well, like what was weird about this guy, like there were maybe 10 in his, and like they would wait like almost in line for him to like give them a little, and they have the little hands, so they reach up and grab it. It was very cute, but you shouldn't do that.
They're adorable, but they are very destructive, and they can be rabid, unfortunately. And here is a terrible story that's not really even about the animal. It's just power that was questioned and came down hard.
Iranian couple sentenced to prison for keeping a pet cat.
But it wasn't actually just that. This lady had the audacity, Krista, to be in her car driving with no headgear. And they pulled her over, and the couple didn't like that, so their business and house got searched and sealed off. You know how some countries they'll like tie a little official ribbon?
Oh, yeah.
I guess we got that with the warrant tape.
Ribbon cutting.
And you're not allowed to go in there. Well, the guy cut the ribbon and went in and questioned authority. Ultimately, they were charged with crimes that were going to be like, here we go, 74 lashes for insulting a police officer.
Wow.
240 million reals, which is $400, for insulting a conscript. I don't know what a conscript is in this context. 74 lashes for threatening officers, 1 year in prison, and another 74 lashes for disturbing public order, and 2 years for spreading false information. That was the woman. They're going to lash the woman. I think some of those charges got dropped. Threatening public health by keeping a cat.
Apparently, so I had a friend who lived in Egypt for many years, and she said that, like, where she was in Cairo, it was becoming more, like, it was considered cool to have a pet, but, like, in a lot of other places, it was like, no, like, pets are, like, dirty. You don't want to have an animal in the house.
But Turkey is mostly Islamic, right?
Maybe?
I think so. Turkey is blanketed with cats. That's a big
Yeah.
part of their culture. So I don't know.
Yeah. She said, like I said, she said Cairo was more accepting of pets, but, like, further out, a lot of people were like, oh, no, I would never have an animal in the house.
And you know that cat is going to get euthanized.
It's probably
Yeah,
already gone.
that's
Poor little
sad.
fella.
That's sad. That's a sad story, and so is this one.
Frederick County Health Department warns public after third rabid groundhog discovered.
Terrifying disease.
It is.
If you get it and you don't get treatment immediately, you're going to die horribly. Very horribly.
Have you ever read about the Milwaukee Protocol?
I don't think
That's
so.
a good YouTube like rabbit hole. There was I think one or two people have recovered from rabies using that. They basically put you in a coma and let the virus ride it out.
I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah, it doesn't always work, but
But at least,
the only 2 times it's ever been cured, it's been using that protocol.
yeah, well, okay.
Yeah.
So,
if
I'm
you're
either-
bit and you didn't know, yeah.
I'm either going to wake up and be okay, or I'm not going to suffer the seizures and muscle spasms and hydrophobia. It seems like a win.
Yeah. It's a cool Wikipedia article if you ever want to look it up.
And this is also a sad story, and I know, yes, I've done it. I've fed French fries to waterfowl many times in my youth. but
The butt of the bread at the end of the
you're
bread
not
bag.
supposed to do it. It's bad. I've even been to places that had vending machines. But apparently
They do duck feed now, I think.
Don't do it.
Do not feed Portland geese developing malformation from eating too many carbs. Same.
So they call it angel wings. It's kind of hard to see.
Yeah, it's not well
Let's see if
indicated
they got
here.
a better- here's a little bit better picture. They call it angel wings, but it's not angel wings at all. It's the wing feathers outgrowing the bone. Is that right? But it causes them to be all cockeyed. And the bird actually cannot fly, which means it cannot migrate.
Oh no! So we won't see them in the V formation.
Well, you won't see them at all because they'll be dead. And so they encourage, if you have to feed them, grapes and seeds. But even then, maybe don't feed the geese. It's hard. I know it's hard to resist.
I will say, well, this is talking about, like, I assume Canadian geese because that's all the pictures in the article. Maybe, I mean, you probably shouldn't feed ducks either, but, like, geese are kind of mean. Maybe this is people punishing the geese.
You think? that's all like,
It's a long con.
yeah, the cold revenge, right?
Yeah.
So a
Like-
goose bites you one day, and then you destroy their entire. What do you call a group of geese? Flock.
A flock, right?
Yeah. Okay. Flock. Destroy the entire flock. Keep those V's out of the sky. And here's a follow-up to last week, and we always like to talk about this one, and I think, I mean, this is not much in terms of,
It's kind of a brutal headline.
yeah, I mean, okay, you won, but at what cost?
Alaska's fat bear contest winner finishes ahead of the bear that killed her cub. Do you think that makes her feel any better about having lost her cub?
I think in nature, like once the cub moves out, you're just like, I don't care who that is anymore.
Yeah, you're dead to me.
It don't matter anymore. Here she is, Grazer. I remember Grazer from previous years. She's always a contender.
That's probably true for bears. Probably maybe not for, like, elephants. Elephants kind of have family units.
Whales, they say.
Yeah.
Say do that.
Probably, though, a bear probably was like, yeah, whatever. Less food. Less competition for food.
I've definitely had cats who had a litter of kittens, and then as soon as the kittens reach sexual maturity, they just start swiping at them anytime they come around.
Yeah, it's like, get out of here.
I'm not looking for you anymore. But that guy was not, or that bear was not disqualified from the contest. You were allowed to kill other contestants in Fat Bear Week, which seems unfair to me.
Well, it's not even what the truly disturbing part of that is that they didn't kill another contestant. This person wasn't even on the board. The cub wasn't.
It was too new, right?
Yeah,
You can't be
it's-
Fat Bear winner if you're young.
It was literally just to psych out the actual fat bear.
Or it could be, like to keep them from future competitions. Easier to kill them now, right?
Than to when they get really fat.
Right, exactly.
What a time to be alive.
We managed 34 minutes for that one.
That wasn't bad.
People might be too much up in arms.
Well, You've wasted a perfectly good half hour with us and many more besides. We will be back next week with more stories and hopefully more Wendell.
I think he's scheduled to be back, yes.
Okay. All right. We'll see you guys then. Bye.